Greetings, welcome to a video explaining the domain and range activity in Desmos and then the subsequent discussion question. Okay, so let's start off with screen 8, the domain challenge number 3. So this screen kind of is the beginning or gets you the idea of what is being asked in the discussion question. So before we get that far down the line, let's take a look at what we got going here. So notice that the regions that they've given us here have different endpoints. This first region that they want us to adjust has got closed endpoints at both sides. We know that because the vertical lines are solid. So of the regions that we need to create domains on, the only one that's got solid endpoints on is this one. So we're going to use this piece right here to define that domain. Okay, so that domain is going from yard to yard, that piece of it. Okay, so this one's now got an open dot and a closed dot. So it looks like we're going to take the second piece here, put the open dot there, which is a solid line, closed dot there, and that's the second piece of the domain. Now notice this one got an open dot in this end, and we're going off to positive infinity, so we're open dotted on both ends there. That's as far as we can get it to go to the right, and there we go with the closed dot. Okay, now notice a couple things before we go on here is that these three pieces are necessary in order for us to define the domain. And the reason we know that is because there are gaps or these white spaces between there. So if we were to write the domains for each of those three pieces, let's go over to a place where I can draw on this. Then notice that the domain here is going from roughly where? Let's see, that's at about, looks like what, 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's looking like this chunk of the domain is going from -8 to about, let's see, to about -3 roughly. And then there's a gap over here, and we come over to about -1, let's just do as a guess, out to about, say, 2-ish, all right? The idea is that there is a gap here between these two pieces. That's the main thing you need to see right now, not necessarily what the numbers are. Okay, so let's go back over to the Desmos activity for a moment. Back in the right spot here, here we go. And let's take a look at the next screen. Okay, so in here they say write the domain as a function using inequality in the rows below. Use a new line for each region of the domain. Okay, so let's take a look at our first piece here. Notice that that's the point -6,2, and then it ends over here at -3,1. So what that tells me is that piece of the domain over there goes from -6 is less than or equal to x, which is, notice it's covering everything now, we don't want that, less than or equal to -3. Okay, and notice we get that chunk of the domain. And now our second piece appears to be going from, well, that looks like at what, -2 and -1 respectively. So -2 is less than x, which is less than -1 in this case. Again, we have open endpoints, so we use dashed lines, which again is represented in our inequality notation by the hard inequalities, the strictly less thans. Okay, one last piece to build here. Let's put our endpoints on this one too, just to make it look pretty. And then we're going to go from where? From 1 to 3, it appears. Okay, so we're going to go 1 is strictly less than x, which is strictly less than or equal to, looking at, what do we have here again? It was 3, right? Okay, so that's our third piece. Okay, so notice now that our domain is made up of 3 pieces. Why? Because we have gaps between them. Now, if there were no gaps between there, we would be able to copy or cover the entire domain in one piece. All right, so let's go back over and let's take a look at the discussion question, the Desmos discussion question, and see if we can maybe start thinking about the domain part of the question with respect to that. Can we cover this with one piece, or do we need 3 pieces? Well, let's make a drawing. See if we can get a drawing open up over here that would help us out with it. Let's try that one. Yep, there we go. Okay, so let's take a look. So let's go ahead and draw in our domain here. So using the same technique we just did in Desmos, this is going to be a solid line that we're going to start with here, right? I'm going to change the color here too. Let's make the color better. Let's use, there we go. We'll do a reddish sort of color on there. Looking good. All right, so So the domain goes from there and then it comes over to here, but notice that I'm still in the domain with this piece, so I don't need to do a new line. Look, I'm still in the domain with this piece. Oh my gosh, the domain goes all the way over to here, and then it's a dashed line. So what I'm saying is this, is that it looks like this interval right here is the interval that's going to give me the domain. And it's a single interval. I do not need multiple intervals there. And so it's looking to me like we're going to go from what? -5 is less than or equal to x, which is strictly less than 3 for my domain. Okay. Now, same song, second verse for the range. I'm going to let you finish up the Desmos activity on your own, let you do that if you have not yet done that. But notice with the range we're talking about with respect to the y-axis. So it looks like our range is starting down here at the origin. We actually have 3 points that are touching the origin, don't we? One of them is an open dot, the other 2 are closed dots, but nonetheless we see that the origin is indeed included. And that we go up and we continue on and we go up to here and we have another closed dot up here at 6. So it's looking like my range can be covered by what? 0 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 6. So thinking about this a la Desmos, I can put in a horizontal line there and a horizontal line there, and my range is going to be everything between those 2 points with closed endpoints at each unread arrow. So I'll put dots on there instead. Okay, well, hopefully that helps with any confusion that you had with the Desmos. If not, be sure and post more questions within your group, and of course you're always welcome to post questions up to the Q&A forum.